Welcome, everyone. This is your girl, Tanya, with Our Youth Matter. And I just want to thank everyone that either on a call or will be looking at the replay. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. The purpose of me wanting to do this call is my nonprofit, Our Youth Matter. We turned 12 last month. And for our 12th birthday, we did 12 acts of kindness. And within the 12 acts of kindness, when I was having people fill out the form that may need help, I was asking them how were they handling the COVID-19. And some of the response I got was very, overwhelming. A lot of it is what we're going through, whether it's job loss or being laid off or having now homeschool the kids or just trying to now cook all the time and clean and be home. And I mean, if I don't see one more dish, it will be okay. If I don't have to cook one more meal, I would be okay. I'm like, okay, we need to work so hard where we can hire a housekeeper because this is not it. But it was just so overwhelming and, a little sad and heartbreaking. I know myself, I've lost pretty much 85% of my income. So I could understand and relate as well. So I wanted to have a call where we could just talk about the pandemic and how we could do some self-care, how we could maneuver and handle ourselves through these tough times. And I knew that my girl over here, Aretha, she is a therapist and the social worker and in that type of field. I'm gonna let her introduce herself. But I knew that she was the person that I got put on my heart to invite to have this discussion with us tonight. So with that said, I'm gonna have Ms. Aretha take it over and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, and good evening, everyone. My name is Aretha Hampton, and I am a social worker and a therapist, born and raised in East Oakland, California native, deep East Oakland. And what I do for a living is really helping people get through whatever the things that don't feel good. And then sometimes also just about creating a safe space for people to put things out on the table with someone that is objective, that's not invested in their life like the way our girlfriends are or the way our parents are. So somebody that they can explore different parts of themselves with. So thank you for having me.
Well, yes, welcome. Thank you. So I know I had kind of went through like a couple of questions that I just wanted to ask, and we'll just see how it flows, where it goes, and go from there. But the first question I just had is, what are your thoughts about this COVID-19 virus, and how do you see it affecting people?
It's so interesting that when we first started to hear about the COVID-19, which I call the Rona, there was a lot of misinformation out there. We didn't know exactly what was happening, what was going on, whether it was, there was talk, oh, somebody created it in a lab, oh, it came from here, it came from there. And so it was really just overwhelming. Like, what sources are valid sources, right? And so what I'm seeing, after we've gotten some information, is just the difficulty of coping with something that is so uncertain, where there seems to be no end in sight, that it's something that has forced us, one, to remember that we don't have control and power over everything, that this is still Mother Earth and things will happen. And so it's forced us to adapt and reconcile with the fact that we don't have power and control over everything, and figure out new ways of doing things, new ways of connecting with our friends and family, new ways of connecting with our children, especially if you've been furloughed, you've been laid off, you lost your job, and you had to homeschool.
Yeah.
I know for me, and my youngest is in the fourth grade, will be in the fifth grade. And, you know, with my oldest, it was like there was the new math with him. And then with this little one, it's another new math. And it's like, excuse me, you want me to help with math, and I gotta cook, and I gotta clean, and I can't see my girlfriends, and I can't go out, and I have to wear a mask. So a lot of stress.
It is. I think we have a new norm, and I don't think we're going to go back to where we were. And I know even like the schools, I was talking to a teacher, and she said, you know, they're talking about maybe doing 2 sessions. You know, back in the day when I was in kindergarten, I was the 9 to 12 session, and then it was a 1 to 4 session. So she's saying that they may have to go back to doing something like that because the classroom, she was even talking about like because of the classrooms and the sizes, that it may only be like 10 students in there. So in a way, that may be good for the kid because they're getting a little bit more individual teaching. But then what parents gonna do that works, and you know who gonna pick up the kids, and you know just a whole bunch of new stuff is going that's going to be happening. So do you kind of feel the same, or see like we're going to have like a new norm going
You know, I don't know if it's necessarily a new norm,
on? Mm-hmm.
but that will continue to be in this cycle of adapting to the moment.
Okay.
Because the information that comes out, especially when people live in different counties, so they're getting different kinds of information based on that county, based on that school district.
Yeah.
So it's about adapting to the moment. And what do you do with your children when you have to work and they have to go to school? And so part of what we're experiencing now is recreating our networks and reaching out to our friends, reaching out to family, and asking, um, how can you help me? How can I help you? Also having to navigate this financial system of,
Yeah.
okay, I have to go to work, but I need someone to take care of my child because my child is now home. Or if I've lost income, what resources are available to me? And we know that resources are really stretched. And so not only is it about access to resources, but when the resources are available, we're all trying to tap into that same resource. So then we're talking about time. Like I
Yeah.
know with the unemployment system, EDD, Employment Development Department, everybody was filing at the same time. And so our stress went up because
Yeah.
everybody was filing at the same time. The system was overloaded, couldn't handle the calls, couldn't handle the online traffic. And there were moments when it crashed, right? And so
Oh,
it is
wow.
not giving up, but pulling yourself back to the moment and saying, okay, let me give myself a break. Let me breathe. I can breathe. Because when we're stressed, sometimes we hold our breath either figuratively or literally, like I can't breathe. And right now, even that term is so loaded. But pausing and breathing and saying, okay, I can't apply at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I might have to do it at 9:30 at night. So we've having to adapt to the moment and structure how we do things and thinking more intentionally.
Yeah, that's true. It's I think it's definitely a new way of thinking. And if you're not the type of person like I remember this job who really was coming in and telling us change is good, and that there's going to be some changes at the job and all of this. And then they were really getting ready to, I ended up getting let go from that job. I learned that change is really good, but in that moment, I learned to appreciate change because you just never know when it's going to happen or what's going to happen and that sort of stuff. But yeah, to the person who just joined us, you're on mute right now. I'll unmute it to ask questions later. So we're just in here talking to Miss Aretha right now and just having a little conversation. Um, so what can we do during this time? Like I know right now things are starting to open back up and the shelter in place is slowly going to be lifted. Me personally, I'm still a little bit more cautious and stuff because I do have a compromised immune system. So, and there's a lot of theories going out there. I don't know. I just want to be safe. So, I'm just taking precautions just for myself and but I see the videos and I see people out and I see like Lake Merritt and it's like a whole bunch of people and I drive through the neighborhoods and I was like, is it still a shelter in place? I mean, are we still social distancing or what? So what is it that we could do in this time now as we begin to slowly shift out of the shelter in place?
Well, this is the thing. People need to, and I say need, I'm saying this intentionally. Language is really important to me. So if you're going to go out and break the social distance or break what they now call the social bubble, is that you act like you have the virus so that you are putting yourself in a place of that you're protecting other people. So if you have to go out, and we've come to this place where it's interesting how the pandemic hit in the spring leading into the summer, right? Because we know that
Yeah,
when it gets hot, people want to be in their shorts
yeah,
and their tank tops, and they want to be out and about because being in a house can feel claustrophobic, like you're being smothered.
yes,
And so you want to wear your mask. You only wear your gloves in the place if they allow you, and then you take them out off and throw them away so that you're not contaminating surfaces. You want to be mindful of your social distance, your 6 feet, because there isn't a vaccine, right? So we want to be cautious, but we know that people are really frustrated and needing to connect. We're humans. We need to
yeah,
connect with one another. So doing it in a way that is safe and intentional. And I know there's some places that are opening back up, like wineries and breweries. Well, we know that
hmm,
when you have a little something, a little taste of something, you loosen up a little bit. And
yeah,
so being mindful that if you're in situations where you might loosen up a little bit, might forget a little bit, is that really the thing that you need to do right now? I think other ways of as we start to open up um, is have conversations with our children. Um, if we're stressed out and frustrated, they're stressed out and
yeah,
frustrated. And so, as a parent or a caregiver, because you might be a grandmother taking care of your grandson, your grandchildren, um, being mindful that we have to create space for the kids to be able to say
hmm,
what it is they need to say. We might not always agree with it because we got to cook, clean, and work. And we might not always want to listen. But right now, it's an unsafe time for multiple reasons, right? It's not just COVID-19, but it's also just the tragedies, the traumas that have been happening to African Americans that have just burst through the ceiling
yeah,
again. And so children are being exposed to that and experiencing that. So creating safe spaces for people to talk. Another thing that I talk to people about is reaching out to friends and family and having conversations, checking in. And if you have somebody in your life who falls on the sadder end of the spectrum of emotions, who is a little bit more depressed, a little bit more isolating, not expecting them to reach out to you, but as a good friend, reaching out to them, because when you have that significant sadness, when it's so profound, it's hard to reach out. Although I may say to you, girl, if you're feeling down, you can always call me.
yeah.
Well, you're
And
down.
most of the time, we really don't do that. Like when we're going through something, we really not gonna let me call. Every now and then, like if I'm like really like having a bad day, I may call my friend. I'm not like suicidal or anything like that, but still be like, girl, I don't know what it is, but I'm in this funk. And then, having that encouraging word. But for the most part, if I'm like going through something, I'm not about to call no one to do it. So I think that's important what you said about you reaching out to them.
Yes.
Because, all the time people not gonna give you a call. They just go wallow into what they're going through. And we don't want no one commit suicide or, or do anything crazy. So
Yes. And so like
that
different
point.
things that you could do, like I love the Zoom calls. Um, Creating a text message group. That's something that I have with my friends. I'm the friend I love baked goods. Ooh, I love a good cake. So I've
I
taken
see.
this opportunity to harass them about baking, right? And every morning somebody is texting good morning, saying something that happened, whether it was funny or whether it was sad, but it's another way of staying connected. So as we think about opening up, there's always the potential that there will be another increase in infections. So holding on to some of the strategies that help you stay connected to your friends and family in case we have to shelter in place again.
Yeah, that's good. I know me and my friends, we have one group we're on a WhatsApp. So it's like a messaging thing, and we're in there and we may share what you having for lunch, and we're posting pictures of what we have for lunch, and we're just talking, checking on one another. And then, as I was telling you earlier before we really started, is I have another group of friends, Christian friends, and we got together on Zoom and was just like, okay, we need to check in. And it started with one person said, I feel like it's okay for me to say this, but I'm not having I'm not doing good, and I'm having a rough time being in shelter in place. And she did at least open up to us. So I was like, okay, well, let's get together and let's talk about it, because, I have good days and I have bad days, especially being a business owner. And I don't really have not a lot. I don't have no one, telling me what I need to do, or I don't have to check into a 9 to 5 type of job. So it's really me just trying to do it all myself. And just being able to check in with people, and us having that Zoom call, and we're praying for one another, and then we said we'll be praying for one another throughout the week or whatever, I think has been helpful for us. So we decided, okay, once a week we're going to do a check-in and see how everyone is doing. So and then I wish, before we would get together and celebrate like someone's birthday or a holiday, but now it just seems a little bit more intentional. And I think it's good. This is a good thing to be able to do that and be able to check in with your friends, more frequently than every now and then, or even like, I think sometimes like families, we don't come together until someone died or someone married, the only time. But now it's like, hey girl, how you doing? Even if it's on social media, how you doing? What's going on with you? Or, just, being able to connect a little bit more.
Yes. And the other thing is also connecting with yourself
Mm-hmm.
right now, remembering the things that make you feel good, the things that feeds your soul. Because life, it was so busy. Like before the pandemic, I remember I was ripping and running and doing this and doing
Mm-hmm.
that, and and not necessarily having the time to slow down and think and do the things that just feed me all up in here. And so what I encourage people to do is to reflect on, because sometimes reaching out to friends and family though is great. Um, if you're exhausted right now, if you're sad, if you're drained, what is it that you need to do to take care of yourself? Whether it is running, whether it is baking. I know going to the grocery store, I was like, I know all these people not out here baking bread. But yes, people have tapped into new hobbies, things that they can do that give them a sense of power and control and that make them feel good.
Yeah.
Because the
I was
world is
looking for a bread maker and I couldn't find one. I was like, why I can't find a bread maker? And then come to find out, one of the celebrities or something was talking about bread and making bread, and I guess everybody wanted to do what they was doing. I was just like, dang. You know, people are finding new hobbies, and that definitely would have been something new for me. But
Yes, right. Giving yourself grace, taking a bath. When was the last time you've taken a bath? Not a shower, but a bath. When was the last time that you prayed or you journaled? When was the last time that you just sat down in the sun and allowing yourself to do things that just fuel your soul? And so we want to be able to connect with our friends and family, but we also want to be able to tap into
yeah,
ourselves right now. And another thing that I think is that this time has given us is the opportunity to reconnect with our kids. Like, when was the last time you
yeah,
had played a board game with your kids, pulled them away from the video game, read with them, doing some of the things that is a little bit more quiet, getting back to having that time together and asking them questions. You know, when you have to work from 9 to 5, pick them up from the after school program, come home, cook, clean, you're exhausted and frustrated because all of these things, your second or your third job has begun. And you got to
yeah.
check homework too. And you got to make sure they got to take a bath or a shower. And having the opportunity to say, okay, this time in our life right now is really difficult. What are some of the silver linings? What is it? What's in my power? What's in my control? And so being able to like feed that relationship with your kids.
Yeah, I think that's good because my son is an adult and he lives with me. But you know, just being able to cook more, and you know, we kind of having dinner together, and you know, we're talking about, you know, his future and, you know, what it is that he want to do, or, you know, just having that family time that we wasn't doing it when we both was on the go, you know, just passing one another by or whatever. But even for the younger kids, you know, for the parents that have younger kids, you know, like you said, doing more family things. And sometimes, you know, we be go, 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 that we don't take the time to appreciate, I would say, those moments. And you know, just you know, the next question was about self care, so you kind of went into that perfect timing. But as far as self care goes, what what would you suggest, like if someone don't really maybe know themselves, or maybe don't know what they like to do because they, you know, I know for a lot of people, you're a mom, so I'm being a mom, and or I'm being a wife, or I'm being a you know, a partner, and I'm doing all this other stuff for other people. So I've kind of lost myself a little bit. So, you know, when you talk about self-care, what for that person, what are some things that they could probably do?
One is to do a self-assessment. I am big on those because one is about going old school, getting a piece of paper. I know the youngsters and the more technological savvy people, you know, they do it on their iPad or on their
It's an
phone.
app for that, probably.
There's an app, yes. But you know, just for the sake, you know, a piece of paper, and there's something about writing things down that's very different than typing it on a device. And you make a list. What are the things that I like? What are the things that I don't? Or what brings me joy? Or what used to bring me joy? And you do this self inventory of writing down these things and then picking one or two to do a week. Not necessarily a day, unless it's something that can be built into your day. And then you build from there, rediscovering who you are. And this is something that I encourage couples to do because it's not just a relationship with your children, but also, you know, you're at home with your partner every day, all day. They're getting on your last nerve. You know, before the pandemic, if they spilled some juice on the counter and didn't wipe it up, it would irritate you. Now you're ready to take their head off because they do it every single day. They didn't take out the garbage. They want to have sex. Well, we just had sex yesterday, or they don't want to have sex. Whatever. the self-inventory for yourself, and then do the self-inventory for your relationship. And then you pick one or two things that you can try, right? And that's the thing, it's about the trying and not needing to perfect it, but figuring out who you are, what it is that you like, and then being able to build on those things. I think also for the person who doesn't know themselves or have forgotten who they are, um, I use the phrase give yourself grace a lot, because we're conditioned culturally on a capitalistic basis, the American standard, whether it's the European standard of beauty, all of these things that kind of take away from Blackness or brownness, that forces you to be a certain way. Um, it's hard to know who you are when you're living up to certain standards.
Yeah,
And so to pause and take a deep breath and just think about it. You don't have to do anything, but reflect what it is that you want, what is it that you need, and what is in your power to actually do in this moment.
that's good. That's good. I like that, to make that list and to write about what brings you joy and what you like to do. And even in this pandemic and the shelter in place, some people is probably finding some skills and some things that they didn't even know that they like to do, or beginning to do new stuff. And I think that's good. Um, One of the last questions that I had was, I don't know if I'm going to get another one, but one of the ones I had is, and I think you touched on this in the beginning, is just how you balance everything, with I'm working, or maybe I'm not working and I got to homeschool the kid. And like a friend, she was like, was an essential worker. And she said, I work full time and they want me to basically, teach my son who has special needs, has a slow learner, but they want me to teach him like he's in a full day of school. And she said, I'm not a teacher. She says, I'm trying to work full time. I'm bringing him to work. Thankfully, her job let her do it. But I'm trying to go in the other room and trying to teach him and show him how to do something, then go back to work. So, and then, having to come home and, do all the cooking. So how do you just balance all of that?
I think it's about, what do you have power and control over? I always go back to that. So with the parents that I work with who've had to homeschool their kids, I ask, what is most important? That they learn how to read and write? Okay, then that's what you focus on. We're going to read a book. You're going to write something. And giving yourself permission to say, you know what? I'm not a teacher, but this is what I can control. This is what I have power over. Because that full day of, and I did this I had to do this with my son, get to a place where it was like, okay, you know what? What is it that you like to do? What are you interested in? And he said science and math and his foreign language. Okay, all that other stuff, we're going to put that out the window, because so is doing the critical thinking.
Yeah.
Is the teacher grading anything? No, she's not grading anything. Okay. What is it that she wants? She wants to have a class meeting every day at 1:00. Okay. So you can do these 3 things, and then at 1:00, you need to log in. All that other stuff has to go out the window, because it's not critical. And I can say that. I can give myself permission to say it's not critical, because if I'm on his neck, getting him to do something, he's not learning. And
Yeah.
so this is what I tell parents. If you're stressed and you're trying to pressure your kids to do something and to adapt to you being their teacher and their dad or their grandmother, they're not going to process the information. So right now it's about decreasing everybody's stress, giving the kid 1 or 2 tasks. If they're excited about it, you've won. Because a lot of the stress has been like, oh, they're going to be far behind. They're not going to be on grade level. that's not an individual issue. This is a school district issue. This is a statewide issue. This is a countrywide issue. So the responsibility to address that on this large level is really for the schools to figure out. Me as the parent, as the caregiver, what I need to figure out is how to keep my kid engaged. How can I decrease their stress level? How can I connect with them and keep our connection so that I'm mom? I'm already stressing him about his messy room. Now I got to stress him about his math too. So figuring out what can just go off the window, what it is that you have control over, what is going to not cause as much stress, and then be able to structure your day, right? So at 8:30, like I allow my son to get up later in the day. He's 10 years old. His brain actually needs about 10, 12 hours of sleep. So I'm not going to stress myself out getting him up at 7 o'clock in the morning. How long can you allow your child to sleep so that you might get some things done in the morning?
Okay.
You know, when do you give them breakfast? You know, when does your child does those couple of tasks and then have time to just be a kid? When do you need to be at work? So really being able to look at your schedule Monday through Sunday, fill in what it is that you need to do so that one, there's some household structure. There are some expectations because we don't want our kids running to and fro willy-nilly because then they'll take over, right? So just having some
Mhm.
structure and some flexibility for them to relax. Because remember, our children don't have the same brain capacity as an adult. They need to be able to chill out just as much as we need to chill out, if not more.
That's good. That is good. I like what you said about giving ourselves permission. Because sometimes, we're trying to follow the rules and we're trying to do what you're asking me to do. But I mean, I'm juggling and I'm trying, but I just can't keep up. And then you start feeling like a failure and something's wrong with you. And I know
Yeah.
my son was in school. My son is I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to just say smart, but he was. I don't know, highly intelligent, and he in the gate classes and things like that. And I used to be trying to be a good mom. Do you need some help with your homework? And I'd be glad when he say no because I didn't know how to do it. But I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus, yes. But what I didn't know is if I didn't know, I knew someone. I knew someone I could probably go and ask to help them if I wasn't able to help them. But I understand, now as a parent, and the kids needing help with their homework, and it's been a long time since we probably even did it, and just trying to do it. So I think that's good. What you say, give yourself permission, find out what they enjoy, and really just focus on that. That way they're keeping busy, they're still learning, and it's like a win-win for us all. And I like now that the school decided to have like Zoom calls and Zoom sessions with some of the students, for those who was able to, do that. Because I know it was a shortage of computers, or you didn't have a computer and you couldn't afford to get a computer. Or if you had, some of the feedback I had is, I got like 4 kids in the house, and then they have a Zoom call pretty much all at the same time, but we only got one device that we're trying to share and just trying to manage those type of things. So those were like kind of all the questions I have. I'm gonna see if anyone has any questions or wanted to comment or feedback. And is there any last things that you want to say?
Mm. I just want to reinforce the idea of people giving themselves grace, giving themselves permission to feel what they feel right now, to be safe. Oh yeah, the fireworks, they started like a month ago.
Yeah, girl, I hear them too. You in Oakland, I'm in San Leandro, and I be hearing them every night. As soon as it get dark, they going off. I'm like, why are we shooting fireworks for?
Right? So like, yeah, giving yourself grace, giving yourself permission to let go of the things that don't serve you right now, and when I say that don't serve you, these are the things that cause you significant amount of stress, that it impacts your relationship with your partner, with your mother, with your kids. If you have to go to work and be around people that you can't even shelter in place at work. So being fearful of the exposure, giving yourself grace, giving yourself permission to feel what you feel, be safe. Um, and I also can't stress enough, because social media is a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like I know for me that I had to unfollow, mute friends and family that were posting things that were so distressing to me. Like as soon as I opened up Facebook, there was something. And
Yeah.
so giving yourself permission to say, you know what, I can have a relationship with you. I don't need to see you on social media, because on social media right now, you a hot mess.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to buffer ourselves, because a lot of the images, a lot of the information is repetitive, and it it actually hardwires your brain. And so right now, so you have the COVID-19, but you also have George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and the young man that was found hanging in Palmdale. And so we're trying to balance all of these things at the same time. And so it goes back to that power and control. You don't have to engage in social media, or you can curate it in a way that, not to say that you don't need to know what's happening. So you want to find the sources that are valid, that give you solid information, and then buffer yourselves from a lot of the other stuff that is just re-triggering. Because if you
Yeah.
can't deal with it, it's not a failure. It just means that, because what we're taking in is other people's perception and emotion. And when we're already under a lot of stress, I'm taking on all of your stuff too. I need to save space for myself. So I really want to reinforce that. And that's part of self-care. It's saying, I can love you, you, my aunt, my cousin, my brother, whoever. Social media doesn't dictate our relationship.
That's good, because I know just with myself, just personally, I can't intake a lot of bad things, or I can't see a lot of things, or so like when you're seeing people post certain things on social media, I have to scroll through it, or I can't look at it, or if it's too much that we're talking about, the noose and people hanging themselves, or they want to start showing pictures or whatever. I just have to log off, and I'll be okay, let me give it a moment. And it's the same thing with the news too. So I can't watch like a lot of news, and because it just seems like we're just talking about all bad things, and it's like I just can't intake a lot of that. So I'm trying to see if our person, Sunita, if you have any questions. I sent you a chat in the chat. But if you have any questions, you can put in the chat, or I can unmute you if you would like to ask a question. Oh.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to thank Miss Aretha for taking the time out of her busy schedule to provide me with some tools to kind of stay on track. And I like the part about giving myself some grace. And what do I really have control over? The self-assessment, and the one for relationships as well. It was just some really good information, things for me to think about at this time, especially for the kids too. I haven't had my grandchildren that much. I've seen them today, but thank goodness I haven't, because their mom is home, but she is working online while they're at home, So just for them to still get to, be kids and do what they need to do. But I want to thank you, Miss Aretha.
Well, thank you for calling in.
No problem.
Yeah, so I think that's all that I have. I think this was some good information, and like I said before, you're my first guest in this type of format, and I wanted to just do it at least once a month, just to bring different resources to people that may not know that's out there, or just so we could talk about some things and just get it off our chest and talk about it. And thank you for just being my guest. And for those who don't know me and Aretha, we went to high school together. So, and she has supported Our Youth Matter over the time. I remember she donated a bike before, and she's donated money and gifts and stuff before. So I appreciate that support. And I just want you to just kind of tell people, if they want to get with you, how can they how can they maybe schedule a consultation with you? And I also just want you just to tap just a little bit. I know you probably wasn't, about your candle line that you have, and the purpose of why you started the candles, because I love my candle that I got.
Well, I'm glad you love it. So if people are interested in a phone consultation, you can call me at 510-847-8847, or
Say that
drop
number
me
one more
an email,
time.
510-847-8847.
Okay.
Or you can email me at rootsbeatslimbs, so ROOTS, beats, BEATS, limbs, LIMBS, @gmail.com. You can also check out my website, which is https://roottherapy.info. So those are 3 ways. I always tell people to check out my website. There's a lot of information about how I practice on there. And I provide therapy for individuals, couples, and families. I also provide trainings for organizations on implicit bias, trauma, human trafficking, and effective communication. And then there's my candles. Oh my gosh. So right before the beginning of the year, I wanted to give my clients a gift to usher in the new year: healing, new beginnings. And so I created a candle for each one of them, and I enjoyed the process so much. Because what I found myself doing as I was stirring the wax and picking out the fragrances and the herbs and the flowers, which I grow in my garden, I was praying over them, praying for healing, praying for prosperity, praying for love, praying for just setting just really good intentions. And I felt good about it. And then my clients' reaction, they really loved them. So then I decided to start a business, because I was like, if I'm going to be buying wax and fragrance oils and picking all my flowers and herbs, I might as well make a little change too.
Hey.
It's expensive for this kind of hobby. So I do have a website, and it is thehealingground.net. And I sell candles, and I sell a room spray, and we'll have a t-shirt at some point. And it's really about not just creating a candle for the sake of having a candle, but really setting good intentions. Something that you can burn in your environment, whether it's your living room or your bedroom. And if you buy the power candle, it's about power. If you buy the love candle, it's about love. If you buy the healing, it's about healing. If it's about prosperity, it's about prosperity. And so I do a lot of things.
That's good. And that was probably one of those things you didn't even know that you was going to like doing candles, but you was just, let me do this as a gift. And then here it is now, you starting a business from it.
Yes. Yes.
So that's good. That's one of those things too, even though you did that before the shelter in place. I really think that a lot of people is going to be coming out with some different gifts and abilities that they didn't even know that they had. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that is good. Well, I want to thank you. I put in the chat your information, but when I upload this to YouTube, I'll put in that information too. So hopefully you'll get some calls and get some candle sales. I believe we got a special going on right now. I believe I saw something on the special right now.
Yes.
You know, with Juneteenth coming and everything, that some sales will come from that too, with everyone, you know, buying, supporting more Black businesses.
Yes.
So thank you again, and I appreciate you, you know, just being on this call and sharing some of your wisdom and everything.
It's been my pleasure. I love it. Part of the reason why I do the work that I do is not just about helping the individual in the moment, but how do we break generational trauma? How do we evolve? We can evolve. We should evolve. How can we be comfortable in our skin and make decisions that really serve us? So I love this thing called therapy.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, and I think it's needed. And I just, the last thing I just want, especially our culture, the Black culture too. A lot of times we don't want to go to therapy, or we don't think that, you know, I don't want to share my problems like that. But then we'll tell, you know, Pookie and Jumba again, and all of them, all of our issues that we're having, and maybe even take advice from them instead of paying, you know, or letting your insurance do it or whatnot. Go to a professional and really talk these things through and talk them out. So I'm hoping more people will, you know, make this regularly a part of them, because we be having a whole bunch of stuff going up in our head, and just being able to talk that out, I think, helps a lot.
It does. You know, and that's the difference between going to Pookie versus going to a therapist is I'm not going to tell your business, one.
Mm-hmm.
2, I'm not going to judge you. 3, you have everything you need in you already. So what I'm just doing is just helping you to uncover it, like an archaeologist. I'm just helping you to dust some things off and helping you to develop a stronger voice for yourself. It's a safe place to explore the things that don't feel good or the things that you want to do without somebody judging you, telling, no, you shouldn't do this. And my role is I don't tell you what you shouldn't do unless there's a safety issue. And so therapy isn't about being crazy or that there's something wrong with you. Therapy is about having a place where you can just talk some things out and explore. So come see me. Come holler at your girl.
And you see, I heard you mention couples, so you see couples and individual people too?
Yes.
Kids as well? Or no?
Yes.
You do kids too? Okay.
Yeah.
So you do it all.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I'm gonna help the whole family. Y'all need help, I got you covered.
Oh my goodness, yes indeed.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that information. I'll post it, and or yeah, maybe, yeah, I'll post it. I got your email and I got the number. And, I got the healing ground. And yeah, we'll get that posted so people could reach out to you and have one of those private sessions and things like that. And then they could probably use their insurance as well, right? Insurance.
Some insurance. But what I encourage people to do is, if you're ready for therapy, still give me a call. We'll talk about what's going on. And if I don't accept your insurance, I can support you in finding somebody who does.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. That's what it's all about. Just, you know, giving our resources, helping one another out. And, you know, that's the important thing. It's just, you know, getting the help.
Yes.
Talking it out. All right, then. Well, thank you. I think it was a great discussion. And yeah, maybe I'll have you on again, because another big thing that I'm really not, I don't want to say passionate about or whatever, but one thing that really just disturbs me is the human trafficking and the sex trafficking part. So maybe we could probably talk about that at another time, because I don't think people really realize, because it's not media based, of how much that really is going on. And I just want to make sure that our kids is protected.
Yes, I do trainings for human trafficking. So I would love to come back and talk to you about human trafficking and how families can be aware and how children can be aware and how to be safe and how to, and when we need to acknowledge some stuff.
Yeah. All right then. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you go, because I could sit and I could probably talk all night long, but I have a feeling my adult son is going to be contacting me soon for that ride.
Yes. Oh my goodness. But thank you for
So I'm going
having
to go
me.
ahead and let you go so you could, spend some time with your family.
Yes, before the sun sets. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.